Hello, I'm at the lake again. I did another meditation, and before I came to the lake, I thought, I should probably film a video after this. What am I going to talk about? And then I just trusted that in the meditation something would come up, and so it has. And I opened my eyes, and I saw this green. If you really look at what you're seeing, if you deconstruct it, it's simply a bunch of colors upon which your mind and eyes see distinction. You perceive depth. You can perceive different objects. This is green, what I'm pointing at right now, but we see it as grass. This is blue, actually, but we see it as we know it's brownish water, right, reflected upon the sky, but it's actually blue, right? This is a reflection of trees, but it's actually just green, if it's even green. I don't know, maybe that's like a blackish green. I don't know. That, white and brown. It's a house, but it's actually white and brown. See, so our mind is creating a picture here, and that's not to say that it's not there, but I'm trying to point to a deeper thing, which is that at any given moment, you're actually simply perceiving sensation, and then your mind puts an interpretation on it. This physical layout is simply a metaphor for the fact that we put all sorts of mental interpretations on things, which really are more functions of our own minds than it is of the thing actually occurring. It's not to say that we're wrong, it's just in what we think. It's to say that there's a lot more out there and that we could be wrong. Yoko Ono, who was a very interesting type of artist, said in some interview, she was with John Lennon, she was talking about something. She said she put pretty much a blank canvas with something on it or something like that, and she just wanted the person, or an empty room or something, and she wanted the viewer to just look at it and then transpose whatever was in their mind onto that piece. That's a very different type of art than, say, a Rembrandt. Rembrandt, I don't know where he's from, but his paintings are in the Met in New York, and they have these beautiful things of guys from the 1700s and stuff. You look at it, you feel like you're actually looking at a face. You kind of know that it's not a face, it's not a person, but you're looking at it and it's just so real. That's a very realistic interpretation of something. What Yoko's doing is more abstract, but it could be even closer to reality, because in reality, what people are doing is that they're transposing their thoughts everywhere. I saw a white bird fly across, and to me, I was thinking about some speech I was going to give about how we should extend peace to people all over the world. We would fly the white banner of peace. And that bird just looked like a representation of that for me. If someone was next to me, that bird would be something else. Could be something, could be nothing. It would reflect something within them. So at any moment, it's important to know that your mind is unfolding onto the reality, and your life is being created. Every moment builds upon the next, and as it continues to go and go and go, so you go. Your fears will always be there, so long as they remain unquestioned or unprocessed, so long as they keep repopulating themselves. Same thing with your joys, your whatever. No matter how much you change the external circumstances, which can, of course, change the way you react a little bit. If you're in a more peaceful environment, of course, you'll feel more peaceful, probably. Whereas if you're in a war environment, you're going to feel more scared and more fight or flight like. But basically, we have to make sure that we don't give too much credence to the external, which is really the main problem in society nowadays, but also probably for all of days, and will continue for all of days if we don't change it, which is that the external exists, and but we are seeing our own mind. There's this fantastic scene in The Empire Strikes Back where Luke is, it's a lengthy thing, I'm going to give the short version. He's in training with Yoda, and Yoda sends him into some imaginary training circumstance, and Yoda says, your weapons, you will not need them, but Luke takes his weapons anyway. He goes in prepared to fight, so to say, and sure enough, because he went there that way, this Darth Vader character popped up very quickly, meaning for a minute Luke was just seeing, like, turtles, snakes, slimy stuff, whatever. Then Vader pops up in this hazy, dreamlike sequence. And then I believe Luke draws first or swings first or something, and then he cuts Vader's head off. And remember, this is imaginary. And Vader's head rolls onto the ground, face up. The mask explodes, and underneath the mask is not Darth Vader. It's Luke. He saw himself. He went in with fear. And so he got a conflict, and so he then killed the bad guy, which turned out to be himself. And the reason he went in with his weapons is because he felt as if something evil was in there. And Yoda told him, this is a domain of death, it's a domain of evil. And you have to go. You have to go in. Now, this is not to say not to be prepared. It's not to say not to be defenseless. But it is to say we have to be very aware of the mentalities that we go into things with if we're to stop perpetuating conflict, if we're to stop perpetuating our own unhappiness and the unhappiness of others. It's a very difficult and fine internal work that, frankly, it's not that most people can't do it, it's just that most people don't do it. It's a lot easier to go into a battlefield and kill somebody from across the field, or up close, or get killed by them, than it is to do this internal work. Because that battlefield mentality elicits aggression, fight or flight, very basic responses, very primal things that don't require any type of reflection or internal development or whatever. And certainly you need a lot of strength to do it effectively, a lot of discipline, a lot of tactics, a lot of courage in a sense. But at the same time, doing the internal work internally as well as a society to stop those situations from occurring is far more difficult, because you have to face yourself. It's much more difficult than being aggressive to someone else. So let us all realize that we are what we see. It's not to say what we see is not there, but it is to say that there's a lot more there. There's goodness in everybody. There's goodness in Darth Vader. And Luke had to essentially throw his sword away in the next movie for that good side of Vader to come out. There's good in each person, no matter how aggressive they might be acting. And they're acting in aggression out of fear of, probably the other side. And if the other side is you, then out of fear of you. What are you doing to create that fear in them? More importantly, what are you doing that's fear-inducing in general within yourself? Very, very difficult questions that take a lot of reflection. But let's just remember that in this scene that we see here, this is grass, this is water, this is house, this is sky, this is tree. But at the same time, this is green, this is blue, this is white, this is brown, this is blue, this is brown. Many ways to look at things. So let's continue along the path and continue to question ourselves. Roger Federer in 2008 was asked, he was world number one in tennis for 4.5 years, said, how have you been successful for so long? Because no one had been number one for that long. He said, consecutively. He said, I always question myself, even in the best of times.